Hiya, I'm Marcus from All Ages Airsoft. Under my overcoat, dangling free. Sorry, it's been one of those fucking days. Right, we have an interesting one here. A Northridge ssr4 came in about 3-4 months ago. Backstory of this is, customer bought it directly from Northridge. Put a mag through it, half a mag later the gun stops firing. It fires, nothing comes out the barrel. He brought it into me and asked me to have a look at it. I immediately removed the upper receiver, pulled the trigger, the gun works, nozzle doesn't move. So that immediately tells me you've got compression, so the problem is the taper plate snapped. No problem, replaced the taper plate for him. I used a good quality Garda reinforced taper plate. They are bulletproof. He brought the gun back in today. Half a mag, gun broke again. We've since done a little bit of research into this, and it looks like for some unknown reason these guns are known for this exact fault. The taper plates break. Why? Have no idea. Right. So that being said, the customer has now taken the decision to go HPA. Brilliant. So this is going to be a 2, possibly 3-part video on how we're going to, first of all, take the gun apart, because I need to strip the gearbox anyway, ready for the HPA conversion. He's having a Gate Titan 2 with Pulsar engine installed. So the first part of the video will be just stripping the gun, getting the gearbox apart. There'll be a little section, I don't know if it will be in this video or in another video, about what I think, what I'm hoping to find may be the problem. From an engineering standpoint, knowing what the taper plate does, it doesn't actually have to do a hell of a lot. It's basically picked up by the spur gear, not the spur bit gear, the sector gear, pulled rearwards and released. That's all it does. And that pulls the nozzle back, allows the pellet to come up, releases the nozzle, pushes the pellet into the barrel, gun fires, process is repeated. I'm hoping I might find a smoking bullet, so to speak, inside the gearbox casing once we've got it in bits. Don't know. First things first, the gun's got to be stripped either way, so let's crack on. So, I've got to say, he was not a happy bunny about this. He wasn't having a go at me because he got the gun directly from them. He was not happy about the customer service he received on this and how the gun performed. When the gun shot, it shot like an absolute dream. It ran really, really well. The downside is, literally, he got 2 magazines out of it after I did the taper plate. And he got about half a magazine out of it with the original taper plate, which by anybody's standards is not good. I think that's absolutely disgusting for a gun that is that much money and is meant to be that good a quality. But hey ho, not my problem. My issue is I have to fix these things. So let's have a look. You can just see, and of course Northridge uses a Allen key as opposed to a screw. Yeah. So here we are. The build quality on it, the body is absolutely beautiful. Really is. But now we've done a little bit of research, a lot of people are saying exactly the same thing. The taper plates go. Okay. And it has got a horrible, horrible stock assembly. I've got to say, not like a normal system. That's going to make life interesting when we do come to reassemble it. So the first thing we really need to do is just get it apart and remove basically everything. All I need for the HPA conversion is an empty gearbox. Don't need anything more than that. We don't need the motor, we don't need the bushes or anything. From what I've seen of this gearbox at the moment, it's a nice gearbox. It looks gorgeous. It looks like it's been well made, but obviously there's an issue somewhere, either with the gearbox or with the shell. It can't be the taper plate, so to speak, purely because I didn't use a Northridge taper plate. I used an uprated taper plate. Now, if it was anything, if it was a standard Northridge taper plate that I used, I'd say, there's the problem, it's the taper plate. But I used a uprated Garda one. So that's now telling me that there's a bigger fault here than meets the eye. So we will, come on. Come on, out you come, thank you. Things to watch here is that and that. Put some grease on those. Right. There's the body. So we don't need that for now. Don't need to worry about that. Right, let's start. Right. There's the spring. Not all the way forward. It's going to be because it's got no tension on it because part of it's broken in here. Let's have a look. I used quite a few screws on this. Right. Okay, let's have a look. And as I suspected, and in exactly the spot I said it would be. So, this is the taper plate. This is meant to be attached like that. And it snapped cleanly off. And you know what? I have absolutely no idea why. I don't know. There is nothing there that looks to me. Right, let's take that out of the way. We don't need the gears in here. The fire control's going to be coming out. The gears, it's got a delayer. The gears are in absolutely immaculate condition, which I would expect considering it's probably had less than 300 rounds put through it. Grease is a bit bungy, a little bit thick. I'm not a great fan of oil like that, or grease like that. Quite almost gluey. Right, right. I was expecting or hoping to find something in the gearbox that would almost be a smoking gun. This is the problem. This is, you can fix me by doing this. Right, we don't need that. But what I'm going to do for the minute is just put the shims as they come out back on the gears. Right, now where is it? Here it is. Right, so that sits like so. Now, by the looks of it, if you look closely here, you can see a rub mark just there. Now, there's a very, very slight rub mark up front here, kind of almost expect that, and a tiny one just here. Nothing down here. So what that is telling me is that this was not necessarily rubbing too much in the gearbox. If you see a mark like this all the way along, you know it's rubbing evenly all the way down one side. We've got a small amount, as I say, nothing on this one though. So it's almost as if it's rubbing unevenly. So what I'm going to do, just for the hell of it, we can't do anything now with this until the parts turn up. We're just stripping it ready. Is I'm just going to pop this back together. I'm not even going to bother with the screws. Right. That feels like there is a bit of play there. The trouble is, I certainly haven't got the equipment. What I'd love to do is put the gearbox together and measure the internal diameter from this groove to here. but I can't do that because I've got no way of getting a tool in there. Not the tools I've got anyway. Right, we'll set that at 0. $13.76. $13.79.003. Right, so we go from 7.6 to 8.2. So that's 0.006. Not a huge difference. That would account for the rubbing here. So it stops about there. Well, there's nothing on the other side of the gearbox. It's not as if there's any built up material that could have possibly been hitting against. There is nothing here. And there's no wear marks where the sector gear sits, which is about there. So the sector gear on this side of the gearbox would sit like so. And the whole idea of the taper plate, I haven't got a spare taper plate at this stage. Right. All that has to do is basically that. All it has to do, I wonder. No, it shouldn't need to get that far. So, this part here is the pickup for what would be the back end of the taper plate, which weirdly enough is broken and missing. Here it is. So, this would sit essentially there. The delayer, as this turns that way, pulls this taper plate backwards to its limit. So let's, for argument's sake, there is a it's rubbing very, very, very slightly. Now, I'm just turning. Right, we'll pop him there, because that would be basically ready to fire position. That is going to turn that way. That's the limit of its travel, where it is now. The only thing that would sit there would be that. No, I wondered if it might have been coming far enough to the rear that the bottom of this could have been hitting this. So then you would have had a situation, because essentially this part isn't held by anything. It's guided by this run here. But underneath, there's nothing governing its movement. Now, if that goes to there, yep, that's basically, it's going to be limited by the front face of the piston head here. It moves back to here and it can't essentially go any further. So I'm wondering if the reason why these are known for snapping here, and I would have to do some serious measurements on another good gearbox, a good quality gearbox, to try and get some measurements out of it. I'm wondering if we've got a problem between the spacing of this face here, or probably more importantly, this can't think of the word, the little spigot that secures the piston head. That governs where the piston head sits. So essentially that is what governs where this can pull back to. If, for argument's sake, this is too short by a fraction of a mil, it wouldn't have to be too much. What's happening, we're getting way too much torque, and this is trying to do that because it snapped right here. Well, that's a weak spot anyway, engineering wise. That is always going to be a weak spot. And at first I thought what was happening, this was coming back so far, it was hitting the spindle, the enlarged section of this spindle, the collar, and bending downwards, like so, which would have been possible if you hit that hard enough, because that's an angled face, it is going to want to do this. Now I'm not so sure, because it is going to be limited by, in travel, by the piston chamber head. As I say, the only way we could find out for absolute certain is we would have to do some serious measurements and try and figure this out. But I honestly don't know. It really doesn't bother me because this isn't a weapon system I see that much of. I'm just trying to figure it out and to let you guys know what I find. But there is no, at this stage, no major smoking gun that says, haha, this is what's wrong. So that is where we are for now. What I will now do is strip the bearings out. I'll probably throw the gearbox casing in the hydrosonic cleaner with some detergent and leave it going in hot water for an hour. Take it out, dry it, and then it's perfectly 100% clean, ready for the HPA engine. Fortunately, we know the gun worked fine without a problem originally, so the hop unit and all that side and the compression side of things was absolutely fine. The only issue was feeding because of obviously the taper plate. So I'm not too worried about the gearbox casing being used as essentially a frame to hold a HPA engine. So that is where we are for now. Stay tuned for part 2, where we will be installing a Gate Titan 2 and Pulsar engine into this. Thanks for watching.